The time was 7 o'clock in the evening. A friend called and persuaded me to drop by for a visit. It had snowed a lot that year. That evening, the temperature dropped to -10 degrees. The sky was covered with clouds and it was snowing lightly. I was to go out of town. Since it was my first time driving there, I turned on my navigator so I wouldn't miss a turn. On the highway, I got to the turn indicated by the navigator quickly and without any problems. When I turned to a barely visible road and drove along it for 500 meters, I got stuck in the snow. I couldn't get in or out. I got out of the car, took out a shovel and started to clear the way. It was snowing in large flakes, but there was enough visibility. After half an hour, when my hands turned into icy clumps, I realized that I couldn't do it myself. Getting in my car, I called my friend and explained the situation. She said I had turned too soon, just a little past the right turn. She reassured me that she would be there in 40 minutes to help. Turning on the music on my phone and getting comfortable, I started waiting for her. 15 minutes later, the headlights illuminated the road where I had come from and where there was no trace of the road. Out of the darkness, through the snow swirl, a car appeared. After stopping about 2 meters away from me, the driver got out of the car. He was wearing a sweater and jeans. As he got closer, he knocked on my window. I rolled it down a little and he asked, "Do you need help?" "Of course I do," I answered. "Do you have a rope?" He asked. "I do." "In the trunk," I replied, opening the door and getting out of the car. He attached the rope and told me to get in the car. Then he pulled my car out of the snow pit and drove it to the highway. We got out of our cars at the same time. By then it had stopped snowing. Unhooking the cable and coiling it up, he put it in my trunk. Thanking him, I asked him, "How much do you want for it?" He looked at me and said, "Just thank you enough." Then he got into his car, turned around and drove back where he came from. I was surprised at his actions. When I saw him approaching, I thought he was heading towards the highway. But what surprised me even more was what happened next. 300 meters away from the track, he and his car disappeared. Vanished as if they had never existed. I stood and watched, not believing what was happening. If I hadn't seen the wheel marks on that road, I would have thought I was dreaming. Dumbfounded, I got into the car. A few minutes later, a friend arrived, who ran up to my car and sat down next to me and exclaimed I was in a hurry to save you, to get you out of the snow. I even took a spare cable, and you are sitting quietly in the car on the highway. Is this a joke, or did you want me to meet you? When I told her what had happened, I saw that she looked at me incredulously. So I suggested we take the road I'd turned off on because of a navigator error. We both got out of the car and walked a bit along that road. My car tracks were visible in the snow, but there were no tracks from his car. But even the presence of my footprints confirmed what I was saying. When we got to her house, we warmed up sitting on the couch and told her husband about what had happened to me. Strange. No one has traveled that road for a long time because it leads to an abandoned village. People used to come through there, but then they built a new road. You're saying that once you got a little off the highway, he disappeared? That's even more surprising. You'd think he was a ghost. But you saw his car and driver right next to him. He pulled your car out of the snow and even drove it to the highway. I don't understand, he said, surprised. Can you imagine how shocked I was when his car disappeared before my eyes? I was driving, and suddenly it just vanished. I answered him. I still think about that incident from time to time. And I still wonder, where did he come from? Where was he going? Where did he disappear to? How could this happen? It's unreal.